Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jason, and you're watching Jason Jensen Trains. Today, I'm announcing the details and accessories that are now available on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. Now, these are for 1/18 scale sci-fi modeling. Now, when I say 1/18 scale, that's anywhere from 3.5 to 4-inch tall figures. Now, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I painted all of mine. But I know there's a lot of great, talented sci-fi modelers and world builders out there. They can probably do a better job than what I did. All right, we have a lot to do, so let's get to it. So when you order detail parts from the website, you'll receive them in a box that looks like this. And as you can see, it says, all products made on planet Earth. The first thing we're going to paint are the control panels. You get 2 in the set, and you'll receive these 2 wood pieces, this 3D printed part, and these 3 printed parts. Now you'll have to cut these centers out. There's little tabs that you'll have to cut, and then you'll see these pop out. Now you could leave that and paint that and use that as a wall panel if you want, but we're going to cut it out and then take this piece and put it in there. So we'll do the same to this. We'll just cut that tab. So now you have 2 extra pieces that you can paint and put anywhere on your layout or display. Next, we'll cut these out. And as you can see, there's lots of supports because these are 3D printed. So with a new blade, cut through those. It's very easy, very easy. Then I recommend getting a flat file, and I'll put a link in the description below where you can get this. And you can see that just goes right in there. And then this one just fits right in there. Now these, I'll show you up close. You can see the outline of it right there. So that one will fit there. And again, we'll cut it off the supports. I always think it's best to use a blade and cut them off rather than trying to break it off your fingers. If you break it off with your fingers, you risk cracking or breaking the actual piece. So it's best to use a blade. So we'll glue that one there. We'll glue this one there. Now this one here, be very careful because there's little vents. So you want to come in from the side and cut that. So being very careful not to break those little vents. But if you do, it'll just look like it had some battle damage. Somebody shot it with a laser. That will go right there. Now you can prime the wood pieces first and paint them, then prime these and paint them, and then glue everything together, or you can glue them on the wood and put a primer on it and paint it with it all together. I'm actually going to paint these. I think I'm going to paint my 3D parts separate. So the first thing we're going to do is get a gray primer sprayed on our wood pieces. Well, we'll get a gray primer sprayed on everything. For the primer, I'm using Rust-Oleum. And so you don't want to be right on top of it. You want to be at least a foot away. And just simply mist it, let it dry, maybe mist it again, and you're done. But you don't want to get too close because it'll get thick and it'll cover up all the detail in your parts. And you don't want it to fill in all of the lines that create detail. As you can see, I put a gray primer on everything. Now I'm just going to simply cover these up, the 3D printed parts, and I'm going to spray another color over the top of the wood pieces. And I'm using, what is this called? Vintage Teal. Now again, you could put all this together, put all your pieces on here, then spray it with a primer and then put a light gray over it if you're going for more of a new, like maybe a Death Star look. Sky's the limit on colors. Okay, next we're going to make it look like some of this teal is chipping off and the gray is coming through. So we're going to use slate gray. That's pretty close to the gray primer. We'll just use a paper towel and a sponge, and I'm using a sponge from any hardware store will have these, and they're used for grout, for doing tile work and wiping down the tile after they put grout in between them. So we'll dip it in the paint, blot it on our paper towel. I'll just start with these to show you. And let's go around the edges. Now we'll take that same gray and do the same over our 3D parts. Now let's add a black wash to these. This will give it some depth. So just black paint, just a little bit. Then just dipping my brush in water. So you don't have to go over the entire piece. Just in the cracks and maybe around some of the little knobs or buttons. So here you can see I'm just going in like the deepest areas. Then we'll take a paper towel and wipe it off the top of some of the other pieces. Next, I'm going to take neutral gray and sponge it on some of that teal, especially around the areas where we're going to put these pieces. I just finished doing some dry brushing with silver. This is great paint for dry brushing because it's really thick. This bottle will last you a lifetime. It's really thick, so dip your brush in it. Very little, very little. Then simply drag it over, scrub it over a paper towel, and then just lightly drag your brush over the edges. And you'll get a really nice highlight. Like I said, it doesn't take much. Just go very light with it. We can even do some on here. Make it look like the metal showing through. Now we'll get these glued together. And I recommend using super glue. I want to paint that black behind that vent. That little, it's like a little speaker. Okay, that should be enough. And then we'll quick put this on there. You could take a little bit of sandpaper and sand the paint. It might help it stick a little better, but not a big deal. Now the shape that's engraved on the wood piece is smaller than this piece, the 3D printed piece. And I did that on purpose so that the lines wouldn't show. Now after you put the glue on this piece, you're probably going to want to put it in from the back side so you don't risk getting any glue on the front. This one, the engraved line is the exact shape of the detail that you glue on there. I'm not sure why I did it different on those, but that's okay. Okay, those are finished. And again, you could spray this entire piece a light gray if you wanted to, or even a white. Any colors that you want. And then if you wanted to make it look grimy and rusty, you could definitely add rust to all this. All right, let's move on. Before we get to these details back here, let's do walkways. When you buy the walkway kit, you'll get 4 long ones. And as you can see, you may get some pieces that are still stuck in there. They pop right out. You can take your fingernail and just pop them out. You can see one right there. And I'll pop it out from the back so you can see. Okay, so again, you'll get 4 rectangles. And then you'll get 2 that are this shape. So those are all the pieces you get in one kit. Now let's paint those. So I'm working on the next set, and you get these 3 items with that set. And you can see I just sprayed it with that ivory white, and then took a sponge and went over the edges with bittersweet chocolate. And now I'm using the metallic colors and painting the little buttons. Okay, I sprayed these yellow. Now we'll let this dry and then we'll put a wash of a yellowish orange, something like this. Put a wash over it and then we'll do some chipping. So while that's drying, let's move on to painting this. Again, we'll take our sponge and bittersweet chocolate. Okay, now we'll paint that little control panel that's on the front of it. Now again, use your imagination. That whole front panel could be a dark gray, then a light gray square, different colored buttons. The whole thing could have been the teal color or any color that you want. A lot of water. Make sure it gets in all of the cracks. All right, now we'll let these dry. Okay, so I just finished sponging on bittersweet chocolate. Now I'm just going to go around with my brush with the bittersweet chocolate and hit some of the edges. You know, a couple things I didn't mention at the beginning was that you need to wash your detail parts really well before you put a primer on them. And then when you put the primer on, make sure that you let that primer dry. You really should let it dry for 24 hours before you apply any more paint to it. It's hard because you get in a hurry. I didn't wait 24 hours, but you should. It's just better. The paint sticks better. I can feel that the yellow on here is a little bit tacky. It just feels a little tacky to the touch, and it's because I sprayed the primer on right away, then sprayed the yellow on right away, and started doing this. Well, I'm doing it for a demonstration for a video, but you need to make sure that everything is completely dry before you move on to the next step. Okay, I think those are good. Okay, let's paint the last set. You'll get 2 of these. And the box. So I sprayed these with a reddish brown primer. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is paint those little rectangle control panels on the front. And we're going to paint them using slate gray. Okay, next we're going to take burnt sienna and back to our sponge, and we're going to do these rings that go around it. And it's okay if you get paint on the barrel too. Now it's subtle because it's almost the same color, but that's okay. We don't want it to stand out. We'll put a little bit on the control panel just to make it look like rust. Okay, now we're going to take our black, and you can see I'm using a wider brush. So I just painted the buttons. And now I'm going to go around the control panel with some watered down black. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is dry brush or use a sponge with our silver and go around the edge of the black. But this is what it looks like so far. Let's do a little bit on the brown on the edge of those bands. And there is a set on the website where you get one of each. So everything you see here is included in that set. All right, this is so exciting. I've been working on this project for months, and I'm so excited that I can now offer all of these details and accessories to all of you. And very soon I will have diorama kits available on my website. So just be checking my website, and I'll have a video here on the channel showing how to assemble them and how to paint them. All right, well, a huge thank you, as always, to all of my Patreons. You guys are the best. This channel is not possible without the help of all of these people. If you'd like to become a Patreon, please visit patreon.com/Jason Jensen Trains. I have many photos that I put up during the week showing sort of behind the scenes and projects that I'm working on. Very exciting stuff. All right, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.